Welcome, everyone. All right, guys. So before we jump in, do me a favor and drop your location in the chat box. I want to know where you guys are watching from. Four of you, thank you. Hey, if you know someone that you feel can benefit or from this session, please kindly forward this link to them so they can join live as well. My name is Richard Mberiket. I'm the founder of Mberiket Ventures, trusted US Nigeria business platform. Visit our website, mberiket.com. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm recording this from Las Vegas, Nevada, United States. Originally from Nigeria. I'm not going to go too much into my background, but if you want to learn more about me, you can visit the website, mberiket.com, or just look through our videos, over 600 videos on our YouTube channel, covering topics across exports, real estate, investments, securities, that's index funds and stocks. Just started that actually about a month and a half ago. So thank you. Wherever your location is, if you're in the US, UK, Canada, Asia, because our people are everywhere, drop your location. We want this to be interactive. I am proud to say that we have a highly intelligent audience. So please make this productive. Whatever it is that you post in the chats, keep it positive, please. Keep it respectful. And let's all use this opportunity to learn and solve problems in the cassava farming space. So, who is interested in farming in Nigeria? Is this something that you've considered if you're based abroad? Type cassava if cassava is one of your top options, or maybe perhaps you are interested in other options, corn, pepper, sesame seed. What have you considered farming in Nigeria? Type your crop in the chat box. Also, how many acres have you considered? 1, 3, 5. Nigeria, you guys use hectares. In the US, we use acres. So, how many hectares have you considered? And also, why cassava? Why? What is your why? Why are you looking into cassava farming? Why not oil palm? Why not corn? What specifically drew you to consider cassava farming? Post all of this in the chat. So, first things first, because you know my style, you know my brand, I'm going to give it to you raw and uncut. You can't get rich just farming alone. I want to repeat that again. You cannot get rich just farming alone. You have to have a vertical integrated operation to even begin to even scratch the surface of profitability. I'm not saying farmers are poor, they're not. They are not rich, even in the United States. Farmers here they live a comfortable, productive life. They're not really farming to get rich. Some farmers that I know that I've come in contact with do it for the love of it. They love land, they like being outdoors, they like interacting with crops. They want to be able to plant something, watch that particular crop throughout the season, take care of it, weed, um, water it, and then at the end, they see their harvest. Some of them harvest and take it to a farmer's market. Others sell to companies who then process the crops to finished product. So they do it really for the love of it. So if you're thinking that you can be rich just farming alone, get ready for a rude awakening, because more than likely it's not going to happen. Farming in the United States, I can't speak for Nigeria. Agriculture as a whole is a heavily subsidized sector. The government of the United States subsidizes farming and farmers. They could subsidize machinery, maybe give them a better interest rate on tractors and harvesters and planting machines. The agriculture space in the United States heavily subsidized. That is how farmers are able to make a living. Many of them are not rich, let alone Nigeria, where we are struggling with farming at the moment. A lot of farmers, unfortunately, and as sad as it is, are not able to safely and comfortably farm their lands, particularly in the middle belt of Nigeria, Benue, with all of the uprising, a lot of the stuff that's happening at the moment. Farmers are unable to farm. And when that happens, there's only one solution: importation. If you can't cultivate and grow your own food, you have to import, which you guys know is not the way that Nigeria can grow or get out of the $46 billion in debt right now that we owe to global loaners like the IMF, the World Bank. Every nation has to have a productive agricultural system. Otherwise, you are subjected to imports. We should be able, Nigeria at this point should be able to be a net exporter of a product or a crop like cassava, but unfortunately, we are not. Nigeria is one of the top cassava producing nations in the world. But we are still having problems processing a common food like gari. We are importing gari from countries like Western countries like Burkina Faso, neighboring countries. Nigeria right now is importing gari. A long time ago, someone sent me, I don't know if it was a doctored image, but it was gari made in China. So is China now exporting gari to Nigeria? I hope the picture is doctored, because if that picture was real, then we really have a lot of problems. I know right now that countries like Kenya they need gari in Kenya. I can tell you that right now. Because there's someone that I was working with about a couple of years ago, although the deal did not materialize. It was he wanted to import Nigerian gari into Kenya because over there they don't have it. They have like normal flour that they use. So he was very interested in importing Nigerian gari. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a deal done. So the demand is there, but there are also challenges, and I'm going to cover them in this session. So just remember that you can't get rich just on farming alone. It doesn't matter if it's cassava or you just cannot. You have to have a vertically integrated operation. So for us from Bericat, we've since left the cassava farming industry. I farmed for 3 years remotely from the United States. No, 2 years remotely from the United States. So we had a vertically integrated company or operation, meaning not only did we own the farmland, We also went through a full year cycle of cultivating cassava, tendering the land. I had a team there in Nigeria, and I was doing all of this literally remotely from the United States. I invested in machinery, cassava processing machinery. We have a presser, cassava grinder, invested in frying pans, literally everything that you need to process gari. I invested in. I bought all of the machinery that I needed in Uyo, and I transported them to the village. And then we processed the cassava into a finished product. You can see this. You guys can see this. Barrica yellow gari. So this is a 1 pound gari manufactured at our facility in the Barricade Homestead. We sell this for $12 a pound, when most people in the US are selling their gari for $20 for 4 pounds. We sell ours for $12 a pound. And the difference is this. Some people are out there, they'll go to not Bendel State, Delta State, or they'll go to Cross River State, they'll buy gari and then they'll package them into retail pouches. And then they'll sell them cheap. For us, because we were able to tell the story in our marketing materials, on our listings, we are able to tell and show our consumers that we are actually a vertically integrated company. We own our land, we cultivate our own cassava, we process the raw cassava into finished gari, we package them neatly, we weigh them, and we export them into the United States, and we sell directly to Nigerians here in the US. That vertical integrated business, if you truly, truly want to maximize and make good money, your operation has to be vertically integrated. And because of that, we also introduced a turning stick, which we also manufacture. Are you guys getting this? You getting where I'm going with this? So we also make our own turning stick. This is our turning stick. We manufacture this in Akwa Ibom State. This is not purchased at the market. Manufactured from raw mahogany tree. We sell this as a vertically integrated company. When customers buy our gari, even though they may not realize that they need a turning stick, it's right there in front of them. Because most of the people here are probably using spatulas. This is what I mean by vertically integrated business. That is where the money is. That is where the opportunity is. The opportunity is not in just farming alone. You see, this is why you guys come to me now, because I give you guys the real deal. See, some people talk about it, I do it. So this is available on embericate.com/shop on our website. We are also on Amazon. Just see the name. Go to Amazon and search Embericate. You'll see all of our products. We are also on Walmart. We go where customers are. Shop us wherever you feel most comfortable. That is a vertically integrated operation. That's where the true opportunity is. But some people, majority of you may not be at that stage yet where you are able. And mind you, all of these guys, I do it remotely from the US. And that is why I travel to Nigeria every year. And as our kids get older, my 2 daughters that you see behind me, I'm going to increase that frequency from once a year to twice a year. So you have to be hands-on and be willing to go home if you truly want to run a vertically integrated business. Some people call it backward integration. You see, when you own your own supply chain, that's where it's at. When you own your own supply chain, it differentiates you from those who are just going to the market, buying gari from the market, packaging it, and selling. You see, just like the gari, the turning stick is also a vertically integrated brand, meaning we source our own mahogany wood, we commission a turning stick maker right there in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. Guys, your opportunity is at home. I know a lot of you are out there chasing. You are going out of state. You are going to different regions. You are just chasing. When your opportunity is right there in your homestead. So we buy the raw mahogany wood. This design that you see, so I designed it. And I'm waiting for us to hit a certain sales volume, and then I'm going to patent the design. This is why you guys come to me. All remotely from the United States of America. It is possible. You can do it. And then once is made, we actually just launched a different size. This one is 15 inches. I need to get better at showing you guys. Guess what we just introduced? We introduced a 32-inch version, and we also created wood chopping blocks, all from the same raw materials. 3 items. This is sold for $20. The 32-inch is going to be sold for $40. And then the chopping block is going to be sold for anywhere between $20 to $25. We are still figuring that out right now. I'm actually going to Nigeria soon. Okay. That is a vertically integrated company. And also, we export directly to ourselves from Nigeria. When the product gets here, we sell them on our website, we sell on Amazon, and we sell directly to consumers. You see, guys, that is where the opportunity is. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and get into the 12 questions. And the reason why I like doing this 12 question series is it helps me answer a lot of questions that it's in the mind of Nigerians in the diaspora looking to invest back home, whether to start a business, whether to start a farming operation, whether to invest in stocks and index funds, real estate. It allows me to solve some of the most pressing problems and questions that you guys may solve and answer some of the most pressing questions that you guys may have. The difference between me and you at this point is when I started, I didn't have somebody like me. I basically learned on my own. I fell flat on my face. A lot of people discouraged me from doing business in Nigeria, from friends to family members. Now, those same people, because of our success, they are coming begging for money. They are asking me to put them on. They are, things have changed. Had I listened to them, I just followed my intuition because I knew that there's just opportunity out there. But unfortunately, and I've spoken about this before, not everybody has a wealth-centric mind. You see, poverty and being poor is not in my makeup. It's not in my system. My entire thought process, I'm thinking wealth, because that is the only thing that can allow me to be able to contribute to my village in Nigeria, take care of my family, help uplift my community, help contribute to the economic development of Nigeria. You see, you can't do that now if you are poor. So because I think rich and I think wealthy, I attract. I tend to see things that most people don't see. I tend to see opportunities that eludes a lot of people. And as a result of my way of thinking, as a result of my process, it's opened my world to a lot of opportunities, a lot of relationships. There is not a single time that I travel to Nigeria that I don't make a connection, a business connection. Whether it's at the hotel that I'm staying, the VIP 5-star hotel that I stay in in Lagos, or whether flying first class on Ibom Air, you meet people that are wealthy and successful. You see, another rich person is not intimidated by another rich person. But a poor person is going to be intimidated by a rich person, and a rich person can't learn anything from a poor person. I speak a lot about environment. You see, when you are around, if you are rubbing shoulders with 4 poor people, the law of averages, you become the 5th poor person. But if you are in a circle, again, there's nothing, again, poverty is a mindset, because my grandmother, in terms of materialistic things, people can look at her and say she doesn't have much. But what my grandmother lacked in material things, she made up for in her mind. She never begged for money. She didn't complain. She didn't blame anybody. She woke up, she died at 105, 105 years old. She had land. She cultivated what she ate. She had a little animal sort of area or section on her property. If she wanted protein, she just walked to her backyard, pick a chicken, slaughter the chicken, make her meal, and go about her business. You see, that's a wealthy person to me. Being wealthy and rich doesn't always have to be materialistic. It's a state of mind. Are you guys following? It's a state of mind. If you want to win, you have to think like a winner. So if you are watching this, at least it's good, because you are considering doing something back home. So I wanted to give you guys just a little bit of a backstory, not to show off, but to show possibility. Anybody that tells you that you can't run a successful business remotely from Nigeria, they probably have never done it. That is why they're telling you that. You see, me, this is not I ran, present tense. I run a successful business from Nigeria remotely from the United States. You can do the same, but it starts with the mind. If you guys have followed me, I've said this before. When you change the way you look at Nigeria, when you stop looking at Nigeria negatively and you start looking at Nigeria positively, it will change how you interact with Nigeria. Let me tell you something. Most people right now, when I go to Nigeria and I fly from Lagos to Akwa Ibom, half of them are foreigners. What sort of information that do they have that you don't? What are they doing in Nigeria? They are capitalizing on the opportunities in Nigeria. There is nothing wrong with you working a day job. I say do it. I did it for many, many years before I went full time. But I'm telling you guys, you need to start a small business. If you are watching from the US, I don't know how the system is in Canada or UK. If you're in the United States, today is November 19th, go and register a small business. It doesn't cost much to register a business. Start a business, even if you are doing it part-time. And this is why the United States rewards entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. There's a lot you can write off, even if your business is in Nigeria, but just register it in America. There's so much you can write off as an entrepreneur. You see that truck that I drive, that Ford F-150, it's a business expense written off. You see, I put my logo, Mbariket logo on it because you have to be able to prove that something is a business expense. I just slap Mbariket logo on it. Every time I enter that car, that truck, all my gas, my petrol, you guys call it petrol in Nigeria, it's a business expense that I write off. My insurance, I write off. That truck right now is about to be paid off. I'm going to send it to Nigeria. That is also going to be a business expense. This 6,500 square feet property that we are on, I have a freestanding office. One day I'll give you guys a tour. Separated from the main house. It's a business write-off during tax season. If you're in the US, you know what I'm talking about. All of our packaging materials, business expense. My trips to Nigeria, from my flights to my hotel to all of my runnings in Nigeria, 100% business expense. That's why you will never ever hear me on this channel say I'm going to Nigeria for pleasure. I only go to Nigeria on business that I write off. You see, I'm telling you this because there was no me when I started. So that is why I'm fortunate to be in this position of responsibility that I honestly, and that's why I have to give you guys the honest truth. Start a business. Your farming business in Nigeria, so long as it is registered in the United States of America, everything that you do there, dollar-wise, you can write off. Obviously, you want to consult your tax accountant and all of that to see what you're eligible for and what you are not. But you guys get my drift. Are you following? You can't just say, I want to start a business. You got to know some of this foundational execution, things you got to do at the foundational level to be able to set yourself up for success. CJ, welcome as usual. I'll get back to you. Smart, welcome. We'll cover your comments. Look, I don't want to reveal. American Express Business Gold. Now, big boy stuff with this now. Mbariket LLC. I just want. Platinum card. American Express Platinum card, Richard Mbariket. You see, guys, the next level on a black card now, that one you have to spend $250,000 minimum a year to qualify. All of this is possible because I'm a business owner. You see, I don't have 2,000 employees. Why? In 2025, you can be a billionaire with one employee, you. The days, you think I'm going to get up, drive to an office with a suit and a tie? Why? My office is in my property. I roll out of bed. I take my kids to school, drop them off. The reason why I actually pushed this session back to 12 was because I had to do something with my business that I figured, you know what? Let me just better knock it out, then do the podcast. Otherwise, I would wait until after the podcast so I figure, as a matter of fact, maybe even 12 o'clock is even better because I usually drop my kids off and then at 9 o'clock is when I start. Actually, I don't start my day at 9, I start my day at 4. From 4, I wake up, get a workout in, come to the office, work. My kids are still asleep. By 7, I'm in there, getting them ready for daycare and school. By the time I drop them off and return home, it's roughly around 9. So doing the podcast at 10 sometimes is okay, and other times I don't really have that window. But anyway, today I had to do something extremely important. That is why this podcast was pushed to noon. So I think I'm probably going to continue doing it at noon. Start a business. I will do a podcast on that. But I'm just giving you guys some basics for you guys to chew on. Okay. So let us now get into the questions. So the first question is cassava farming still profitable in 2025 and beyond for Nigerians abroad? You see, if you ask somebody that is not experienced that question, they will give you a yes or a no answer. You see, when you come to me, I have to break it down because it's complicated. There's a lot of variables involved. And it's not a one size fits all. It's a very tough question to answer. And here's why. It depends on what you are optimizing for and depends on your structure. What is your profit margin? What profit margin are you aiming for? And also, what are you looking to do in the cassava farming space? Because if you're a bulk trader of cassava, your profit margin is not going to be the same as somebody that's vertically integrated like me. So if you are doing bulk trading, you are probably going to be at maybe a 5% profit margin. It's a very razor thin margin, but you make up for it through volume. You are counting on truckloads of orders for trading bulk cassava to make sense. And another factor that determines your profitability is also your operating expenses. You see, this is on a Harvard level stuff I'm coaching you guys now. What does your operating expense look like? Somebody with a lean operation, maybe 1 or 2 employees, may be more profitable than somebody with a big office, 20 employees, Somebody with a 1 hectare land and someone with a maybe somebody with a 10 hectare land and somebody with a 1 hectare land. It's impossible for them to have the same sort of like profit margin, because the bigger your farm is, the more it costs to run, the more expensive it is to run. You may have a higher yield than somebody with maybe a 1 hectare operation, which actually a hectare is actually a very large land. Your yield may be higher. Your revenue from your crops may be higher. But by the time that you pay off your team, you factor in the cost of operation, you factor all that in, you might be breaking even, if not even losing money. So it's a tough question to answer. It's really going to depend on you, the farmer, your operating expenses, the type of farming that you are in. And guys, let me tell you, probably the best thing, again, this is just a choice. You might be better off leasing that land, that farmland, than you are actually cultivating the cassava. That is just an option. But this video is not about land lease. This is about cassava farming. Okay. So the profitability is a very difficult question to answer. And let me give you another example. So there's someone that I know who ordered a truckload of cassava tubers from Oyo State, and he was transporting it to Delta. Truckload. On the way, because of the bad road, the truck turned over. And remember, with cassava, you only have a 3 or 4 day window to be able to process that cassava tuber into finished gari. That's all you get. There's nothing you can do about it. The only way you can extend that timeline is maybe if you have cold storage, cold refrigeration. But 99% of you don't have that. So from the time that the cassava is harvested and from the ground, optimally you have 3 days. I will maybe give you an extra day, but after day 4, you've lost that crop. So when the truck flipped over, by the time that he was able to resolve the issue, meaning he got a new truck there, to a week has passed, and you lost out on the entire investment. If you were to ask him about profitability, he's going to tell you he lost money. So I'm trying to give you the realities of this. I'm not saying don't get into cassava cultivation. You need to know the kind of crop you are getting into. But if you are hell bent that this is the route that you want to go, the basic answer to question number 1 is just that it varies, because there's so many variables. You got to factor in soil quality. The better the soil, the better the yield. I've been in a situation where I've had cassavas the size of yams and cassava the size of carrots on the same land. In my own case, it was as if the middle of the land yielded better that when as we got closer to the road, for some reason, because I was asking my team, now? Why is this? Why do we have a combination of cassava tubers the size of yams, and then others the size of carrots? And their response to me was, those that were planted closer to the roadside, because it's not as if my land was inland. Again, that's another thing you have to factor in too. The cassavas that were cultivated and planted near the roadside, for some odd reason, the soil condition was actually a lot poorer than those inland. These are the things that affects, quote unquote, yield and profitability. And another thing too, especially for those who are doing Gary, remember that is a 4-to-1 ratio. What do I mean by that? It means for you to generate 1 kilogram of finished Gary, you have to have 4 kilograms of raw cassava tubers. Keep that in mind. It's a 4-to-1 ratio. If you want 100 kg of finished Gary, you got to have 400 kg of raw cassava tubers. Profitability is very, very hard to determine, because some years you might yield better than others. You can have pest issues. You can have a situation where animals can go in and eat the crop. Or you can have a situation where the farm manager is just not weeding. So that is why, guys, I understand you want to hear me give you a figure and you want to hear me say, yes, it's profitable. But I have a responsibility on this platform to be as honest as possible based on my own experience. Here's another thing too. Today, majority of Nigerian farmers are still farming manually. That affects profitability. We still haven't gone fully mechanized in Nigeria compared to other developed nations like Malaysia or China, where cultivating the land, prepping the land for planting is mechanized. Planting the crops itself and seeds themselves, mechanized. Harvesting, mechanized. Pest control, mechanized. In Nigeria, all these guys that are saying agriculture, oh, tractor, mechanized. I'm talking about developed nations. Nigeria is still largely manual. So when you have a situation where, because as a result of the manual labor involved in, let me say, 90% of agriculture and farming in Nigeria, people generally tend to lose at least 50% of their crops just harvesting. Oh, processing of the cassava also mechanized abroad. Nigeria, we still use knives. You are cutting through the cassava tuber. All of this is what adds to I won't say it takes away, it just eats into your profit. It just eats. That's why I say farming alone is not going to, you are not going to be rich just farming alone. You got to find a way. You see, we are able to make back our money, because unlike people in Nigeria selling in Naira, you see, we sell in dollars. Our Gary is sold in dollars. The reason why I went to Nigeria and sold Gary in the market was because I just wanted to see how the locals there, those guys, they know Gary left and right now. Because my thought process was, if the locals, the village locals, love my Gary, it's impossible for the US consumers not to. See, market research. That was what I went for. I literally went there, rolled up my sleeves, sold Gary. They tasted it. They gave me feedback. They loved it. And as a result, our US consumers enjoy it because it's already successful locally at the village level. Now we they fear to go village. I can look at, and also, like I said, we export. And part of that exportation too, what also eats into the profit margin for us is, you see, Gary is dense, it's heavy. You fly this via air, it does eat into your profit margin. As opposed to if I were to go sea freight, which doesn't as much. So that is why, guys, I think you guys can understand why answering the profitability question is really tough. It's just going to depend on you. And something like that, if you're really you want to do something like this, my recommendation is just consult with someone that has done it before. Understand what you are trying to do, understand what you are getting into. You got to know the back end, the retail angle. Are you doing this to export to the US? And if so, how much are you going to be selling? Do you want to sell? You see, in our case, we sell a pound for $12. Others sell 4 pounds for 20. So for us, we can get $48 for 4 pounds, double what they're getting. And we don't have any pushback because of the story behind our processing. Owning our own land, cultivating our own cassava, processing our own cassava into knowing all of the nuances. And let me tell you something. All of this was even done manually. So you can imagine if it was a mechanized operation, then that profit margin goes from here to here. So it just really, really depends on you. It depends on your operation. It depends on your team. It depends on your process. And that is why it's a tough question to answer. Anyone, any so-called consultant that just comes up to me and be like, yeah, it's profitable. Tell that person to come and see me. Because it's not as easy as people think. So let's go into question number 2. Where's question number 2? How many acres should a diaspora beginner start with? Start with what you have. You see, our own, that was just what I had. I have since purchased more land, but when I started, I only had a quarter of an acre. A quarter of an acre was what I had. And that was what I started with. So you shouldn't go into, at least my advice for you is, don't go into it with a fixed acreage on your mind, saying, oh, these consultants will tell you need 10 acres. And then you are going out there looking for 10 acres of land. Start with whatever it is that's available. As long as, make sure it's zoned though, zoned for farming. because you don't want to be cultivating and farming on an area that's only zoned for residential or zoned for commercial. Make sure that the land that you are looking into or the land that you have is zoned for farming. Most village lands are naturally just zoned for farming. So just start with what you have. Don't think about the size. Listen, you can cultivate cassava on a quarter of an acre like I did. Start there. Start with what you have. Test it first. See if it's even something you enjoy doing. If you have an opportunity to buy 10 acres and it's your thing, that's fine. But you know, if you have an opportunity to buy 1 acre or 1 hectare, that is also fine. So your success is not is not determined on the size of your land. There's a lot of factors that determines if you are successful. Listen, somebody with a 10-hectare land that's poorly operated and somebody with a 1-hectare land that is superbly operated, who do you think wins that fight or wins that argument? So land size doesn't matter. Ensure though that you own the land at least. Make sure that the land is yours. Make sure that the land is zoned for farming. And also make sure that the land is also adequate for cassava farming. Because you cannot cultivate cassava on waterlogged land. And you cannot cultivate cassava on super dry land. All of this is going to factor into your decision. So if you are working with a real estate consultant, and also if you want to go that route, especially you are watching from abroad, make sure that the realtor or the agents that you're working with has experience with farmland. It takes a different kind of skill set too. Because all these guys will call themselves real estate agents, but do they really have experience in farmland? And also let them know that your plan is you want to cultivate cassava. So then that way they don't go and find you waterlogged land or land that is too dry. You see, on the what I have both. The waterlogged land that I have, I want to plant bamboo on it. There's so much I can do with it, but I can't, it's not suitable. The environment is not suitable for cassava. So that's another thing too, is acreage should not matter. The first thing is start with what you have. It could be family land, it could be a small quarter-hectare land like we have. It doesn't really matter land size. So your first mission is just start with what you have. Don't go out there hunting. Don't let anybody lie to you that in order for you to have a cassava farm, in order for you to farm cassava in Nigeria, that you need 10 hectares. Those guys are just looking for their commission. They're not thinking about you. So just start with what you have. So that's answering question number 2. Question number 3, what is the true cost to plant, maintain, and harvest cassava from abroad? Well, the true cost, number 1, all depends on the size. Remember, anything that is, if it's a big land, is going to require more coverage in terms of planting. So you got to factor that in. You got to also factor in the weeding. Like in our case, I'm just going to use our quarter-hectare land as an example. So remember, you only weed 3 times a year, every quarter. I'll probably say 3. Let me tell you why. So you know you have to weed the land before you plant. That's the first time you're going to weed it. 3 months after that, you got to go and weed again. That's the second time. Because you got to give it time to grow. You don't have to go in and weed every day. Okay? 3 months after, You weed again. That's number 3. And then the final time that you weed is also when you are actually harvesting. So you are looking at weeding 4 times in a calendar year, because those weeds, they grow fast. My recommendation is for you to actually weed a week before you harvest, so you can actually see what you are harvesting. If you are trying to harvest and weed at the same time, you might miss some of your crops. And plus, let me tell you, I don't know about other regions, but Akwa Ibom State, it rains a lot. So you constantly have weed and crops competing for nutrients. So, and every time that you weed, you see, in my case, I didn't really have, I just hired contractors. So I didn't necessarily have a full-time farm manager because I didn't really need it. Obviously, at that time, the person that was quote unquote looking after my farm was also my house manager at the time. So he had a dual role. But anytime that we needed work done on the farm, he'll just go and find the laborers that we've used before. And those laborers know that, okay, remember that we are going to be reaching out to you on a quarterly basis. So they know. So it's not as if we were paying them a monthly salary. We weren't. My house manager / farm supervisor was on salary because he had that dual role. But the contractors that did the work, they were only hired when we needed them to weed. So in my case, in order to weed a half-hectare land, at that time, you're looking at 2 years ago, I was paying 35,000 naira. And it's like 5 of them. So essentially 5 or 6. So essentially I was paying $5 a day per person. So I say $5, 5,000 naira a day. In an environment where the labor rate is 3,000 naira a day, I almost doubled. So those 6 workers at 5,000 naira per day turned, that is 30,000. And 6 of them can easily weed a half-hectare land in 1 day. So that's something you got to think about. And then you multiply that by 4. That is 120,000 naira a year, a calendar year. Because the cycle, I'm going to get to the cycle of cultivation here in a bit. Just on weeding alone. Remember, harvesting is not there. Planting is not there. So let's talk about harvesting. It took them, so we did the harvesting. This is another part of your expense too, since we are on the topic of costs. So we've talked about weeding. We are going to talk about the labor for harvest. Sorry, let's talk about planting. So 6 people planting, 30,000 naira. They can plant the stems. Spend the whole day from sun up to sundown just planting. So you got to factor that in. And you only plant once. So 120K plus 30K. We are already at 150,000 naira. But you also have to buy the stems. Depending on where you are in the village, the stems is actually cheap. I think I bought it wasn't a lot. My bundle was maybe 12 bundles. I don't recall how many stems were in that bundle, but you can get like a long stem, one long stem, and chop it into 4 places. That's like 4 stands. So let's just say we are 150 right now for weeding expenses and also for planting. Now, we are going to get into harvesting. So the same team of 6 are also going to be the harvesters. They are also going to be the ones processing the gari, meaning they take their knives and then they chop they peel the gari. These same guys are also going to be the one that's frying. So out of 6, I think I had like 3 men and 3 women. The women were responsible for the frying because that's what they felt comfortable with. And then the men were responsible for the trucking of the gari from the farm to the facility. So I think I paid for harvesting was about 40,000 naira for the 6 of them. I think they actually wanted to go 6,000 a day. Remember, you are doing day labor stuff. Depending on the size of your land can be harvested in a day, can be harvested on 2 days. But unlike the weeding, the harvesting was on a contract basis. So what we did was we harvested in stages. Because remember what I said, you only have 3 or 4 days tops to process your raw tubers into finished gari. See, we weren't doing starch, we weren't doing ethanol, we just wanted gari. So we did, because the land was relatively big. I mean, a half-hectare land is big. So we broke it down into 3 stages, 3 phases. So phase 1 was a third of the harvest, meaning they harvested, they processed, they fried, they bagged. That's phase 1. And they had up to 2 days to complete everything from the harvest to the bagging. So I think each phase I paid 40,000 naira or so was what I paid per phase. So once phase 1 is done, that generally takes about 3 days. Then they'll enter phase 2 and repeat the process. Harvest, transport to site, process, fry, bag, seal. And then the last phase, so that's about another 3 days, another 40K. Then the last phase, essentially the same thing. Harvest, transport to site, process, fry, bag, seal, package everything for exports to the US. So processing, what are we at processing? We are 120. Okay, 120 plus, sorry, that's 120. 120K plus 150K. What are we there? Like at 270,000. That's just 300,000 with incidentals, because you have to still pay for the transportation. So we're already at like 300,000 right there. And remember, my yield was only about 100 kg. No, sorry, I take that back. My yield was about 200 kg yield, meaning of finished product. So doing the math, that puts us around 800 kilograms of raw cassava tubers to be able to generate 200 kilograms of ready-to-eat gari for the US market. So if you're looking at a quarter of an acre, remember, I still have to transport from from Akwa Ibom to Lagos. And then from Lagos to Las Vegas. So those costs really varies. It kind of depends on your operation. If you are in Lagos State, this is for those who are into exports. You see, you are not going to incur the expenses that I had to incur because I was on the other side of the country. Does that make sense? So I'm just kind of giving you an example of what you should expect to be now. Remember, that's 2 years ago. Things have changed a little bit. So if I'm paying somebody 6,000 a day for labor, now these days, people are even they may be asking for 10K. And depending on the size of your land, in my case, a half hectare, I use 6 people for it. Sometimes one will fall off, minimum 5 for a quarter hectare. So imagine if you have 1 hectare or 10 hectares, you're going to need a lot of bodies. And each of them, depending on your region, they are going to negotiate their own labor, but just make sure that everybody is paid the same, unless you have maybe a supervisor that you can pay a little bit more. But in my own case, I did pay my supervisor because the Cassava project was an entirely different thing. So I had to pay him in addition to what I was paying him as a house manager. Okay. So security, you don't really need security. I mean, are you just gonna have somebody there guarding? You don't really need that. If anything, just don't worry about security. Just plan checkers. Here's one thing though: people are going to steal. You are going to have situations where that's just the way it is. There's no amount of fencing. There's no amount of security. People are going to wake up in the middle of the night, come into your farm, and uproot cassava. That is why it's important, guys, for you to really monitor your cycle. Because they can only harvest something that is ripe and ready for harvesting now. If it's still premature, they're not going to touch it. So you got to be on top of your operation, knowing that, okay, harvest time is coming, harvesting is coming. I need to get ready. I need to be on ground and be ready to go. To avoid, that's actually a way for you to actually curtail and curb theft, is to make sure that you are ready to go once that cassava is ready to be harvested. Okay. Hey guys, thank you so much for your patience. I'll get to your comments, but just keep on posting. So let's go. Actually, I'm going to answer some after 2 more. Let me answer 2 more questions, and I'll answer some of your. So that will be kill some of the comments. Okay, so question number 4. What is the real? This one's a short one. So what is the real cassava harvest timeline? So realistically, you're looking at 10 months to 12 months. Anything over 12, the way crops, especially cassava works is, once you've missed your harvest window, the tubers then start becoming exposed, meaning rain and erosion will wash the soil away, exposing your tubers. And exposed tubers attract animals. So you are going to have sheep, especially if you don't have adequate fencing. Sheep can come in, eat the tubers. Now, think about this. You spent 12 months waiting for this harvest, only for sheep to go and eat the tuber at the very tail end because you weren't on top of the harvest. It can attract goats. It can attract bush animal. They call it bush meat in Nigeria. So, at the very earliest, is 10 months, depending on the type of variety. So you have a 10 to 12 month window. If you are really on top of your game, you want to start harvesting at 11 months, depending on the size of your land, guys. Because remember, for me, it took me about 2 weeks to harvest and process a quarter hectare manually. So depending on the size, if you have a much larger land than I did, it can take you a month. But if anything, don't rush into harvesting everything. Take your time. Do it in stages like we did. Know your land size. You can do it as a quadrant, meaning you do one section, a quarter, you go do another quarter, go and do it, the 3/4, and then you wrap it up. Just make sure that, because you also want to give your team a break too. I think that's actually what happened in my case. Like after like the first stage of the harvest, I give them 2 days off in between harvests, because they will work 4 days straight, sun up to sundown. Some cases at night they were working. And then once they've fried, bagged, and sealed everything, give them 2 days off to recoup, to re-energize, and then start the process again. So the yield, you're looking at about, the timeline is about 10 to 12 months. Anything beyond 12 months, you risk losing that crop altogether, because the tubes are going to, because now it's essentially telling you, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be harvested. When you start seeing the tubers in that coming off the ground, and you touch them, you peel them, that is, and also the leaves will start turning slight yellow. You generally get that around month 9. That's a sign that, okay, get ready for harvest. So don't wait until the 12th month, and then you go in and start running helter skelter. Start looking at like the 9th month, ideally month 10, month 11, you want to complete your harvest before that 12-month calendar window. Okay, so question number 5, and then I'll take some, I'll attend to the chats. Which cassava varieties are best for commercial farming? So there's this one called the TME 419, not that kind of 419. That is the variety. The TME 419 is what you want. It's high yield. That's the one that will give you, depending on your soil quality, the TME 419 is going to give you the tubers that are like yam-sized tubers. But that really depends. Everything has to be optimally correct, though. Good rain, good soil, good weeding, good fertilizer. You see, in my case, I did not fertilize. Maybe that was a problem. But that TME is what, you see, the locals in the village are not going to know this. But if you absolutely want that variety, I think you got to go through like an agricultural agency or something like that. Maybe talk to that's maybe a nursery. They're the ones that will be able to tell you what that TME 419 is. But in that case, I don't even think we knew the variety we were planting. I just told my team, talk amongst yourselves in the village. You see, the village farmers, they know. I just told them, I just want the best stems. And like I said, some of my stems, my stands yielded yam-sized tubers, and others yielded carrot-sized tubers. But my issue was largely due to the soil quality on those that were cultivated closest to the road. Okay, so let's look at some of this chat. So this is impressive. Thank you, Smart. Really appreciate that. Please define vertical integration. I did that already. Why is vertical integration the best approach? Well, like I said, you just control your supply chain better. That is why you want to go that route. Because you own the land, you are not leasing it. So you own the land. And then you control the team that's actually planting and cultivating the cassavas for you. You see, all of these people work for you. So part of that vertical integration is also labor, because you are in charge of hiring that team. And if they are not performing, you are also in charge of firing them. So it's not as if you are contracting them out. Okay. Another good thing about the vertical integration is, in our case, the cassava presser I bought The cassava grinding machine I bought, the frying pans and all that. That is also an expense that I paid for. I remember also, I have a 23,000 square foot property in the village. That was my processing plant. So I didn't have to go and hire a processor. I process everything in house. That is vertical integration. You understand? Do you have mortar and pestle? Oh, are you self-funded or did you get a business loan? America is 100% self-funded. We are proud of that. At some point, though, we are going to get a loan. So me, I'm ex-military. So the VA, the Veterans Affairs, they offer a lot of programs for veteran entrepreneurs like myself. So I can tap into those resources. Funding is also part of it. But as of right now, we do okay with just recycling our revenue. Our profits is put back into the business. We also invest some of our profits in stocks and index funds. So right now, and also I work on a contract base, meaning I just contract people. I don't really have anybody full time that I work with. Even my team in Nigeria, everybody is on contract. I activate them when I need something. When I need something done, I activate them. When the project is done, everybody goes dormant until I'm ready again. So I don't have people on a steady payroll. That's another thing too, guys. You got to be disciplined with your money. If you don't need a full-time, the way I always look at my team in Nigeria is if I'm going to hire somebody, let's say I'm hiring somebody for 500,000 naira a month. That person has to make me 1.5 million for me to justify that hire. I want to 3x my investment. That's the way I look at it. Otherwise, if you are not in a, or if you are not in a position to make me 1.5 million and I'm paying you 500,000 naira a month, then it does not justify me hiring you full time. Rather, you are going to be a contractor. Go and do your thing. When I have a job for you, I'll call you to do the job and I'll pay you per project. So that's how I do my operation. And I also want to be lean too because I'm having fun, guys. I don't want to be stressed. You see, a lot of you think having employees is the way to go. Employees will stress you out. Are you sure? Are you sure you want an employee? I like my freedom. And that's part of the reason why I went into entrepreneurship. If I want to be stressed, I'll still be in corporate America. I was managing teams, sometimes 40 at a time. Yes, I was the oga, I was the boss, but boy, was it stressful. Half of them don't want to work. So you think you want an employee, you think you want to be a quote unquote manager, think twice. So me, I'm just happy in my position right now. Even state side, US side, all of this is done in-house. Kate helps. Jeanette is 7, so Jeanette is actually learning the family business right now. Jeanette helps with packaging. Nelly, this little 4-year-old girl, she helps with packaging and labeling. So this is all a family business. Let me tell you something. My joy in life, I just want to work with my family. If I can wake up every day and work with Kate, Jeanette, and Nelly, the people you see behind me, that is my joy in life. I just want to work with my family. I want to work with my kids because eventually, as we grow and as we become more successful, these are the girls that are going to take over the business when I'm done with it. So I'm training them. Like Jeanette labels sometimes, she seals sometimes. They are excited about the family business. So that's just my goal in life. If I can work with my family every day, I am happy. I don't need employees. I've been there before. I was in the corporate world. I was traveling business class, first class, stayed in some of the finest hotels. At the end of the day, I just wanted to come home. So none of that excites me. All this 20 employees thing doesn't excite me. It's just like I got to make my decisions. My wife Kate is my partner. We talk throughout, we talk things out. For the most part, I come up with the strategies, right? And then I just need her to confirm that what I'm thinking is actually what I'm thinking. Does it make sense? Like I never make decisions unilaterally. Some minor decisions I'll make unilaterally. But when it comes to major decisions in our business, Kate and I are literally partners in that decision. So I'll come up with the ideas. This is what I'm thinking, babe. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And then she is more of like, she will analyze it because she knows me. Okay, let's do it this way. Let's do it that way. Maybe we pull back on this. Maybe we get rid of that. So you gotta just be able to. So for me, my goal, I just want to keep working with my family. And hopefully by the time that my kids graduate college, our business will be at a point where they can actually come in and work in the family business. Okay. Do you have mortar and pestle? At this point, we might just do that because we have, so in our kitchenware, in our kitchen brand, the line, we have the 15-inch turner, we have the 32-inch one that they used to turn fufu. Then we have the block. Pestle and mortar is something, but I have to design it. I have to design it though, because they just can't just make anything random. They have to make what I design. So maybe if in the future we will introduce that as well. How did you get trusted staff at home? That is a very, very good question. Honestly, majority of it is just luck. Because guys, I'm telling you, I went through a lot of people. One of my workers at one point was actually, I went to primary school with him. But it got very complicated fast because he wasn't able to separate friendship from business. And he was also looking at me like, this guy that I went to primary school with is now my boss. I mean, it was a little bit weird. It was actually one of my first farm managers. I missed the relationship though. We fell out because of this. So I wish I never hired him because we will still be friends today, till today. But in my case, I mean, CJ, that is actually one of the hardest things you face in Nigeria is just finding people you can trust. Not only people you can trust, but also people who think the way you think and also have your work ethic. I know it's naturally impossible for you to be in two places at the same time. So you will never ever have like another CJ in Nigeria. Or in my case, another Rich. But give me 50% of Rich and I'm happy. So the current guy that works for me, his name is Sam. He's been with me now for 3 years, since 2022. I just got locked out. And this is how I found it. I actually found him through Facebook. And then I realized that he's a homesteader. Because the guy bugged me for a while. This was after I had fired my boy. I was just dejected. I was very sad. I didn't know. I almost gave up. And Kate was like, baby, you can't stop. You just got to just take some time off and everything is going to work out. So he reached out to me at a point where I just wasn't ready to do another hire. But he just kept saying, bros, I'm part of the American family. I'm a homesteader. I see what you are doing. Give me a shot. I can do this for you. I can do that for you. It pursued me for about 6 months. And then I just gave him, I'm like, okay, this guy is persistent. That's actually a trait that I have. Okay, just based on that, let me see what he can do. So I just started sending him on small errands. Go and price this for me. Or I know the price, but I tested him like, go and price this. product for me. And he will come back and tell me the exact price that I got on my own. So I'm like, oh, wow, this kid is honest. So because of that, building that trust little by little. You see, some people who are just out to swindle, they will go, if something is 1,000 naira, they'll come back and tell you it's 5,000. So you got to give people, you got to test them. And you only need one. You don't need a bunch of people. You only need one trusted. You see, because one trusted person that you have can control things for you in Nigeria. Just one. So I started giving him, I don't know if Sam is watching. I started giving him little errands there, and he just was delivering. He was delivering. He would go, he would do what I asked him to do. He never complained once. He never asked me how much you could pay me. He never did that. He just did exactly what I told him to do because he knows that I'm going to compensate him. I'm going to take care of him. So part of what I do for him now, guys, and this is another thing you guys should consider, I pay his rent every year. If you find good people in Nigeria, guys, pay their rent. They will be loyal to you to the end. And it took me some time. It took me about a year and a half to do that. So no problem. I want you to be comfortable, but just know that I'm not going to abuse the relationship, but just know that when I need you, I need you to do something. And I'm not that very hard to please. Just do as I ask. I know what I'm doing. I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to recommendations. Don't lie to me. Don't steal from me. Even if it's 1 kobo, don't steal from me. Don't use my stuff without asking. You see, I'm a kind person. 99% of the time, I'm probably going to say yes. But have some respect and ask me first. And not after the fact, though, before. And take my answer. If I say no, is no. If I say yes, is yes. So he doesn't steal. He doesn't take anything that doesn't belong to him. He doesn't use anything without asking. If I tell him, go here and go there, how much did you spend on that transportation, on that keke? If it's 850 naira, tell me it's 850 naira you spent. Don't add a dime. Don't reduce a dime. Sometimes if his expenses are like, let's say he ran up expenses, because I told him, keep track of your expenses. When I'm sending you on errands, just keep track. And then when I have time, I will reimburse. I can do that fast because I have my account with EcoBank. So let's just say he racks up expenses of, let's say, 10,000 naira on an errand. If I feel that he went above and beyond on that errand, I'll just give him 20K, give him 25K, give him 30K, but I pay his rent just to show my appreciation. At least he knows no matter what, he has a roof over his head. Take care of your team like that. I'm not saying go off and start paying everybody's rent too. But he's my team. He's my manager. He represents me in Nigeria. And I'm like, at the very, very least, I'll cover your rent on a yearly basis. So that's what I do for him. Great question. Maybe some members of his family back here in Nigeria help out with that. How did your grandmother get more chickens? She breeded them now. So she had a little chicken operation. She also had a goat. She was raising this dwarf, this dwarf Ibibio goats. That was my grandmother's protein. She didn't touch fish. She did not raise fish though. If she wanted to eat fish, like dried fish, she would go to the market. But as far as like meat is concerned, also eggs too. So in a little coop, a little chicken operation, So not only did she get eggs out of that, she will also slaughter chicken for protein. And then she wants to eat meat, she'll do the same thing. Like when I used to go there, it's the matter of what do you want to eat? Oh, I want chicken. She'll just go to the back, grab one, carry a knife, cut in the neck, cook. That was my grandmother for you. She lived to 105 years old. I have to do some work, but I'll be back later to watch. I'll definitely be here. Oh, for sure. Diaspora live tomorrow. Yeah. I'll schedule that tomorrow. It's going to be at 12 noon. Please advertise that live widely if you can, so that many will come. I will. Yeah, you too. Feel free to share. Can you explain written off? So when you write off something in the US as a business expense, it means that you don't pay taxes on that thing. It's as if that thing did not so let me just give you an example. So let's say I run a profit of $100,000 in profit. If I write off my car expenses, I just deduct all those write-offs. And then what is left is what you pay taxes on. I will do another podcast specifically on that one day. So that is how, like, my trips to Nigeria is deducted from our profits. Like, basically it's free. That's why I'm able to go to Nigeria every year. Regarding the truck and business. So in the United States, your vehicle has to be a certain tonnage, a certain weight to qualify as a business expense. I think it's like 6,000 tons or so, meaning essentially sports utility vehicle. My truck is considered like a full-size truck. So that's another thing to make sure for those in the United States, when you talk to your tax accountant, ask them federally, what does the truck have to weigh? I think my truck probably weighs like 6,500 tons. So I think the minimum is 6,000 tons. Then it will qualify as a business expense that you can write off. So even if that truck is like $100,000, you can write that $100,000 off because it's a business expense. And for me, I have my logo, everything on that truck. Regarding so please also warn up. Also, what about care regarding taxes as IRS, CRA in Canada? Don't play around. That's true. You just got to stay on top of your thing. I've been using the same tax preparer now for 8 years. So they have my history. It's like during tax time in the US, I'll just take my documentation, take all of our expenses, take all of our sales and revenue, and just take it and she just plugs it into the system. And I'm usually out of there in 2 hours. Taxes can be complicated though, guys, depending on the type of business that you have. You see, if I had employees, it would be a little bit more complicated. But because I'm a solopreneur, so it's not as complicated as if I were like have like a team of 5 or 10. All right. I'm in the night of the live, so I will have to rewatch. But altogether, would you recommend cassava farming? Any other hot agri? Yeah. Do you really want to know the truth? Unless you can run it as an integrated operation, meaning you are farming, and then you are also processing the cassava crops into finished retail products. And you have an export market. In your case, CJ, you are based in Canada. I will recommend so. But if you are just farming cassava and then you want to just maybe sell the produce to people, it's not going to be worth it, because remember, you have to wait throughout the whole season. It's going to take about a year for the harvest. You have to pay for weeding. But in your own case, only if it's a vertically integrated operation. And also, you don't have to be like me, where you went and bought the machinery. You can actually harvest. There are processing companies out there. I don't know which part of Nigeria you're in, CJ. Maybe you want to share that. They can take your cassava tubers and process it into into finished product for you to export. That would be your best, because now you can then turn around and sell it in Canadian dollars to make more sense for you financially. As far as like any other agri goods to farm, the only thing that I have experience on is cassava. I haven't done any other cultivation, but um, oil palm tree is another one. If you want to start a palm plantation, that's actually a very good business. That is actually tailor-made for people abroad. But it's going to take about at least 4 or 5 years for that tree to yield fruit. Lagos and Abia. Yes, now. So Abia State, again, it's about a trusted hand. If you have somebody you trust in Abia State, they can help you source a processor, Gary processor there. And then all you got to do is just contract them. Take your cassava. Obviously, you have to truck your cassava tubers to them. They will then process it for you into finished Gary. You are going to pay a little bit more though, because you don't own the machinery like I do. So me, all I do is I just pay labor. These other guys will factor in the cost of the machine on top of labor. You see, in my own case, I own everything, but I invested in those things. And then all I do is just pay for labor. You can farm in Ogun too, but do you know people in Ogun? Don't just go to Ogun for the sake of going there. Ogun has good arable land for cassava, but do you know somebody there? I would recommend just focusing on where you know people. And also a place where you can just go. You can go if you're in Nigeria, you can just drop in. So do you factor his rent into his pay? No, rent is separate. Rent is basically a thank you for me. I'm talking for you guys who are just tuning in for the first time. I'm talking about my manager in Nigeria. I pay his rent, and his rent is not factored into what I pay him. His rent is just basically a gift. That's what I do. You can farm in Ogun too, but just know that if you're not familiar with the area, it's going to be a problem. Do you pay him annually or per task? I pay him per task. I pay him per task, per project. But also remember too, I'm also developing him. He did not have a driver's license, so I paid out of my own pocket for him to go to driving school, obtain his driver's license. So I paid for that, and then I paid. He knows that anything that he needs within reason, I will do, because it helps me out a lot. And then every time that I send him on errands, it's not every day. He's the one that I use, and I just tell him, keep track of all of your expenses. I'll cover his expenses, I'll reimburse all of his expenses, and then I'll give him money on top of that. So he's very happy. It's a good arrangement for him, because I don't ever want him to feel like he's an employee. I want him to have the freedom to go off and do what he wants to do, but just to be available for when I need him. And also, guys, it's not as if I just wake up in the morning and say, go do this. I always give him heads up. Like, this is what I'm thinking about. These are the dates that I'm thinking about. If you're available, or he will tell me, oh, bros, I'm on a project in Port Harcourt and I'll be back on so and so, and now just walk around the schedule. And then when he completes that task, I'll pay him his expenses that he accrued, and then also pay him for the task done. That's the best. He has been working for me now and then on top of that, I pay his rent. And then any little things like that he needs. Like, for instance, he came to me and said he wanted to go to some political school or some public relation. I don't know, some sort of like weird suit and tie. I told him, no, don't do that. If anything, I will pay for you to go and learn programming, because he's a tech guy. He's into technology. And I'm like, I'm told, find a good course or a good school, and I'll pay for that. So I'm all about development. I want him to be successful. I want him to be able to stand on his own, maybe open a business and I'm not here trying to keep people. I want him to be successful. Maybe one day he moves on from me, or maybe he stays with me as we expand in Akwa Ibom State. He's only going to expand with us. And also, I've also given him a lot of jobs as well. Like just through my network, when people reach out to me for certain things, I recommend him. And then he gets paid that way. Okay. So let's rush through this. So we talked about the cassava varieties, the 419 CM, E419. The sixth question: does cassava need irrigation, or is rainfall enough? That's a very good question. Generally, guys, rainfall is enough. And you also want to cultivate heading into the rainy season. So you know the rainy season in Nigeria generally starts around March or April. So you want to cultivate, if you want to avoid irrigation altogether, plant towards the rainy season. So you want to plant at maybe either late March or early April. Because that's going to, that rainwater is going to give the root system enough time to establish. And then the rains will carry you through the year, because you're looking at rain in April, May, June, July, August. Even now, it's still raining in Nigeria now, and it's almost at the end of November. So ideally, you want to plant in April and you want to harvest the following April. So you don't invest in any irrigation. Don't do that. That's a waste of money. If you are in the south too, I can't speak for the northern part of Nigeria where it's super dry. I'm talking about in the south, Akwa Ibom State, where CJ is talking about Abia State, Lagos, Ogun, that's known for rainfall. Plant in April, harvest in April, full year cycle. Okay. Next question: how can Nigerians abroad find trustworthy managers and workers? I've already answered that. Question number 8: what diseases, pests, and risks should diaspora investors worry about? Fortunately for me, I didn't really have a lot of disease or pest issue. I think my biggest problem was I just didn't have enough fertilizer strategy. That's what I didn't have. And my other worry too was also stray animals, because I didn't have adequate fencing around my farmland. So are there pests and diseases? I'm pretty sure that they are, but cassava too, you also have to remember, guys, it's a very, very strong crop. It's not as prone to pests like, let's say, oranges. Okay, so in order for you to avoid, the preventive measure that I would take, honestly, is just stay on top of the weeding. If you can stay on top of the weeding, you'll be okay. But my own thing is I did not introduce fertilizers at all. I wish I did, but I did not introduce fertilizer in my own operation. Okay. So question number 9: is cassava processing more profitable than farming? Yes. If you can get into processing and avoid farming altogether, do that. Processing is really where the opportunity is. But if you have land that you own that's just laying there unutilized, unused, you can use your land. But if I have to choose one or the other, I'll get out of cassava farming altogether and just focus on processing. But now you have to ask yourself, where are you going to source commercial scale cassava? Very, very difficult. Because most people in Nigeria, they farm on a subsistence level just for personal consumption. They don't farm commercially. So right now, I can't just go out right now and say I'm looking for 800 kg of raw cassava tubers. It's going to be hard. That is why I chose to utilize my land and cultivate my own cassava. But the processing, because the machineries are there, you can just buy the machine, find somebody that you trust, maybe open up a small shop. That's another thing too, you guys should think about. So many opportunities in Nigeria, guys, that you can make decent money. Even if that money just covers your airline trip to Nigeria. Even if it just covers your airline trip, your hotel, and your stay in Nigeria, is that not something? So you don't look at Naira as, oh, Naira is useless. Naira is not. Listen, you can do a simple operation that just covers just that. Because you know at the end of every year, you can go to Nigeria at least once a year, covered by your business in Nigeria. But processing is really, there's an opportunity there. It's not just cassava processing that you can do. You can do pepper processing. You can do tomato processing. You know these grinding machines that they have in Nigeria. You just go, somebody brings in their tatashi or their onions in a bucket. You process it into tomato paste for them. You charge them maybe 1K, 2K. You see, Nigeria is a volume play. The margins are super low, but what you miss out on in margins, you make up for in volume. So you can become a cassava processing operation in whichever state you choose to be. These machines are not that expensive. They are mostly locally fabricated. So you can invest maybe 750,000 naira. That is $500. You get a cassava presser. You have a grinder. You have some frying pans. And if you want to go mechanize, those are available as well. For 750,000 naira, you can do that. Let me tell you something. You make that money back in a year. But you gotta have a good team, like a good manager, somebody that knows a little bit of business operation, and also you gotta be willing to be there, maybe once a year. You understand what I mean? Even if it takes you 2 years to break even before you start making a profit, it's still better than just sending that money home for remittances now. But processing, an area of opportunity for sure. Question number 10. How do cassava farmers secure reliable buyers? I've talked about buying in before. Guys, if you want to learn about how to find buyers, I'm not going to talk about it here. Go and watch the episode on how to find US buyers and how to get US clients. I talk about how to obtain buyers. Not specific to cassava though, just in general. You can find information on that also applies because the product is not that important. Attracting buyers is what is. But I can tell you one thing about Gary right now. You know, Gary is a staple food in Nigeria. I went to the market in Nigeria and I sold out of a ton of Gary, Mbarika Gary, in less than an hour. I think right now, is it like what? 5 cups for 1,000 naira right now. Gary is in demand. As a matter of fact, now Gary to some people is now a luxury staple. So you are better off if you are. There's demand, even for the raw tubers. You can harvest, take it to the market, sell out the same day. Or you can choose to process into Gari, sell out. You can choose to process into fufu and still sell out. The demand for cassava and cassava byproducts, even the peels, animal feed, you can process and do that as well. So buyers is not finding buyers should be the last thing that you should be worried about. If you have the crop itself or you have the farm, some people you can even sell in advance. Start marketing your cassava farmland on platforms like Gigi, Instagram, YouTube. You have this. Let people know the estimated target date, harvest date estimated. And if they are interested in cassava, they can reach out to you. And then all they got to do is come in, harvest. You negotiate your price. They pay you. You move on. When they leave, you repeat the process. If you want to sell your harvest and you don't want to stand there and harvest yourself, just allow others to buy or lease your cultivation from you. Then they'll come in with their own team. They'll harvest it. Obviously, they'll pay you before that. Then they'll move on. Or you can harvest yourself, process into finished gari. If you want to even go a step further, retail packet like we do for export or for local retail. Okay, I've answered that. Can Nigerians abroad run a cassava farm remotely? Why not now? I did it for 2 years successfully. So yes, Nigerians abroad can do that. But you gotta have good management. You gotta have good oversight, verification. You just gotta have a good team. One of the issues that I had with my manager at the time, my house manager at the time, was he's just a local village boy. He doesn't know how to use a smartphone. He doesn't know how to communicate. So I had to use my friend, the one that I ended up firing. So he was more of like the communicator between me and the guy in the village. But if you are closer to the city, like let's say, like CJ, you're in Ogun State or Lagos, and that person that's managing your farm has good communication skills, is able to operate a smartphone to send you updates, take care of little things that doesn't really require your attention. Another thing too is the guy that worked for me at that time didn't really take initiative in anything. So in some cases, when I would have an erosion problem, let's say rain fell and washed the soil off of the tubers, exposing the cassava tubers, he's going to call me. He will call me and say, what should I do? Should I go and find soil and cover it? Why are you doing that? Just go and find soil and cover it up. Why you need to call me up for waking me up at 2 o'clock in the morning for that? So it's just about finding a competent team. Yes, it's 100% possible. All right. Last question. What mistakes cause most cassava farms to fail? Number one mistake, starting too big. Thinking that you got to have a certain targeted size, farmland size. Not educating yourself on the process. The most important thing for anybody right now getting into cassava cultivation, just know that you only have 4 days max. From the moment that cassava is harvested, you only have 4 days to process it into gari, into fufu, into starch. You don't get more than 4 days. Okay. So yeah, that is number one way people lose money, because they don't know. They think gari is something like corn where you can just put it in a silo. 1 month, 2 months. No, it doesn't work like that. Sorry, cassava. Cassava is a different breed altogether. You gotta be able to process it within 4 days. Okay. So yes, that's it, guys. I hope you guys have learned something. Farming in Nigeria can be fun. It's not a get rich quick investment. Know that now. Hear it from me. If anyone is telling you, come and farm, you'll be rich, they are not being honest. Particularly cassava. Now, if you want a get rich farming operation, you want to get into oil palm farming, meaning farming of palm tree. I will do a 12-question series on that too. because I have a lot of experience with it as well. Okay. But small crops like cassava farming, unless you are able to control your own supply chain, building a vertically integrated operation. Some people call it backward integration, meaning you own the farmland, you cultivate, you have the processing machine, you have the processing team. It's going to be extremely difficult. And also for those who are export minded, you are also in a position, those who are watching this from abroad, you have the benefit and the strength of foreign currency. If you're in the United States, you can do what we do. We sell in USD. £1, $12. No pushback. So if you want to farm, think of the end user. Are you farming so you can sell the finished product to a global audience? Or are you farming so you can sell the finished product to a local audience? Remember, if you are selling to international consumers like buyers in the US, you may not get the volume that you need, but you get the profit margin that you need because they're buying in hard currency. In Nigeria, the profit margin is razor thin, but you make up for it in volume because there's shortage of food right now in Nigeria. With everything that's going on, there needs to be food. You got to determine who your customer is. If your customer is in the United States and you are processing and farming in Nigeria, that's okay. If you just want to localize it and keep everything in Nigeria there, that is also okay. But just ensure that you know who your end customer is and never ever go into Nigerian investments with emotion. Stay away from shiny opportunities. You got to be ready to grind. Understand that anyone that's coming up to you telling you make 20 million if you start a cassava farming business, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's a long tail investment. It's going to take some time for you to figure it out. Like for us, it took us time to be able to brand. Listen, we took something that's local and we made it sexy. That is what you want to do. Brand it for a global audience. Farm for a global audience. Local is fine. You can use local as a market research, from market research angle, but aim for exports. Okay. So listen, what topic do you guys want me to cover next? Post in the comment section. Do you want me to talk about palm oil? Do you want me to talk about business? Do you want to talk about investment stocks? Whatever topic you want me to talk about, kindly post in the comment section. I really do appreciate you guys. And CJ, thank you. I know you are in and out, but yes, you can play this back and also kindly share this with your network. And as always, guys, if you find this information informative, for those who are watching for the first time, please go back and watch this from the beginning. Check out our other videos, like, share, and comment. And if this has impacted you in one way or another positively, please consider subscribing. Welcome back, CJ. I can take a few more questions. I know you're going to go back and watch this. But yeah, I'll be happy to take a couple of more questions from you. Sounds good. All right, I'll catch you tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be, tomorrow's episode, guys. 12 noon. I'm telling you guys right now, 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, whatever that time is, set it aside. Is in Nigeria is 9 p.m. 12 noon Pacific time here. We're going to be talking about diaspora's role in Nigeria's development. So come with your questions. Let's have a conversation about what type of processing, what types of cassava processing would be best. You know, the easiest, maybe not the best, the easiest is Gary. But you also have, we have other byproducts. We have starch. We also have fufu. So when it comes to Gary and fufu, remember your demographic is going to be limited to just Nigerians or Africans. I'm talking about the consumer demographic, the end user demographic is limited. Not too many Americans are eating Gary. Like my wife eats eba, so I should probably take that back. But she doesn't drink Gary. My kids drink Gary. Like my kids will mix this up in water and drink it. My wife doesn't do that. But if I make it into eba, she will eat it. So now you have fufu, you have cassava flour. Now you also have starch. You see, there you go, Chinese. But the thing about exporting to China as far as starch is, you need to have the volume. They are not going to come and buy 1 or 2 kgs from you. And that's why a lot of people don't do starch. They don't process cassava into starch. They just process it because there's already a demand. There's enough demand for Gary alone. There's enough demand for Gary alone. So then why would you want to stress yourself going the fufu route? Because processing cassava to fufu is actually a lot harder than to Gary. Same thing with starch. So take the path of least resistance and just do Gary. There's enough demand for Nigerian Gary back home. Because right now we are importing. If you have good Gary right now, you take it to the market, you are not coming back with it. It's going to be sold out. I'm telling you, I've experienced it. I've been there. First hand experience. So do the path of least resistance. Just focus on Gary. And also, there's a difference between mechanized frying and hand frying. You see, we did hand frying. And that's also one of the feedback that our customers gave us. They love that we've hand fried our Gary over fire. Instead of because mechanized. And another thing too, guys, 100% don't adulterate your Gary. Because there's a lot of adulterated Gary right now floating around in Nigeria. People are mixing Gary with God knows what. When you pour it inside water. See, me, I open my Gary right now. Me, I chop for. It just floats. You see, dried Akwa Ibom Gary, like the Barricades Gary that I'm about to eat right now, does not float. I don't know if I have it. I don't know if I have a spoon here. I'm in my office. So guys, make a chop Gary small one. Ah! The thing dry. Okay. Okay. America.com/shop. Buy your authentic Gary from me. From Amazon, that's also. Okay, girl. YouTube too. And not YouTube, Walmart, we're there. Amazon, we're there. America.com/shop, we're there. Oh, the top guy for live YouTube live, man. I'm crazy. Let me tell you something. I've worked at the highest level with corporate America. And I've also sold Gary locally in Nigeria. I'm a G. Listen. Buy the Gary. Let me know what you guys think. Last question. Are you still farming cassava? CJ, good question. No. And that is why, guys, if you want to buy this Gary batch that we have, that's the last. We are no longer bringing in Gary because I ended up firing that team that I had. When I wanted to expand and do more, they just weren't able to meet me at the level that I was at. And I would have had to compromise on the quality. So I decided, before I compromise on the quality of our Gary brand, I'll just rather stop. So this current batch that's available on our website, Mbarika.com, is the last batch that we imported. This is our own Gary. We don't go and buy it. We make it ourselves. So in the future, I may reopen the operation in the future, but right now it's on hold. Right now, it's on hold. But if I'm able to find a team, then I will revive it. I mean, all of my machinery is still there. It's not as if they are going anywhere. I still have my property. I still have my land. So it's still there. It's just a matter of me deciding if I want to do it again or not. It's not about, I just stopped. It's not just staying at a smaller scale because my quarter hectare land is still there. So if I want to cultivate Gary today, cassava today, I can still do it. I still have all of my machineries. I have Sam right now but we are doing something else right now. We are doing something else right now. I'm not saying it's more important than the cassava cultivation, but we are doing something else right now. We are building our corporate housing project in Uyu. That's the focus right now. So once that is done, I may revisit the cassava farming again. But right now, all eyes and all effort is on our corporate housing project. Yes, we are building a 2-bedroom, 2-bath flat, 2 flats for business travelers in Uyu. It's going to be branded. It's going to be under the Mbarika portfolio. That's happening right now in Uyu. So that's where the focus is right now. Okay. All right, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. Shopmbarika.com, Mbarika.com/shop. CJ, nice work. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one, guys.